need me. Touch my family, I can't rest until you see this beat. I got family to that wrist and he went overseas. I'ma feed the whole family by any means. Like the big best believe. It's too much on the line. I gotta stay on my Q's and P's.
It's Javon back here with another video. Sure, I'm finna just start saying this is Jay Gipp back with another video. But yeah, I'm really here to talk about, why, I ended up making the decision to, retire from football. And honestly, it was not an easy decision. I look back on my career and I have zero regret, I done put the hours in, the hours alone, by myself, like in the backyard. I might have my little cousins throw me the ball, so they can witness greatness and, how it takes like a daily process of, just falling in love with, what you do, anything you do in life. And I say that to say, like my work ethic, it'll always be there no matter what I'm doing in life. And that's like a big thing, I got out of football and comparing it to like real life situations. But yeah, like I said, I really have no regrets in my career. And, just the way things panned out, some of them was, from me, my actions. And then sometimes, it can be political in football. And football, as you get, as a lot of people know, as you get higher with the level, the more political football can get. And, that's really honestly where I started like feeling a little iffy about playing ball, midway through college. And, that was that. And I just tried to look past it and, look on the bright side every day. Like I get to go out here and play ball and, get to compete against people. And I really love doing that, especially having fun with it. You always got to have fun with anything you do in life. And football was my fun. And just putting the hours in, letting my parents, witness me grow up and, be great at something in life. And that was football. And, I really want to shout out my homies, like from day one, from Little League football to junior high football to high school ball. I want to shout them out, let them know like, hey, it's been a good ride, Like I appreciate y'all for the support, all the vibes in the locker rooms before and after the game, going to war with y'all boys. But, at a certain point, I get to a certain point to where it's like, is, football even like worth it anymore in my eyes? And, just being away from my daughter, missing important things with my daughter. And I know a lot of people that play football, they have kids also. I'm not trying to take away like, oh, if you have a kid, like you can't ever like play this profession. That's completely wrong because it can change financially like your family's lives forever. But, I wasn't really just necessarily looking at it as a way to financially support my daughter and stuff like that, because there's so many ways you can make money in this world. And, like football is not the end of all in my eyes. So yeah, just looking at it from that point of view, just knowing, I'm more than just a football player. And, so many more opportunities in this world to grow from. Football has brought me a lot of relationships, people that I would have never met without playing this sport. And, just that alone can, take me a long way in life. And I realized that, while I was in college, I really need to, lock in with these relationships and make sure they can go further beyond college. And so, yeah, to round it all up, I want to thank all my coaches for, getting me to where I am today. Big shout out to my dad. He always had me, going out there, doing extra work, always on that track as I was a young kid. And just like falling in love with the process, just to become a great football player. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. A lot of people, haven't made it. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people, haven't made it this far in football, in their football journeys. And I feel really blessed, how my career went, won a few championships in college. I wish I did in high school, but my high school team, our trenches wasn't how it was on my championship teams. But I mean, it is what it is. I went on, won a few championships. Those were some very good days and very good moments, going to war with my brothers. And yeah, that's that. So, what I can give advice to other people that's trying to come up and, make it to the NFL or, just go pro in football, shoot, bro, just dream big, like it's a long process. Like you might feel like you're on top of the world one year and then the next year it's like, dang, like why can't I get anything going, But I mean, it's all up and down. It's never going to all be the same, like with the highs. It's never all going to be the same with the lows. You just got to trust God and, just find your way through the whole process and, just trust God that he's going to guide you the right way. And that's all I could really tell somebody that's coming up. Make sure from the jump, you get into it. You're not wasting no time. Because time is everything with this sport, and it could be gone just like that. And all I can say is just give it your all. Like as soon as you're out there on that field, practice, film sessions, just like you got to live this. Like this is your life. Like you rather start this process while you're in high school or coming up, because by the time you get to that next level, it's gonna hit you and be like, oh, like these dudes are basically pros. And yeah, but these dudes are basically pros, like, so just make sure you've been perseverance through all the struggles, and you always living through your own testimony. You're building it every single day. You're out there doing work and stuff with your teammates, and just know like God got you and you'll be straight. So thank y'all for watching and listening to, why I retired from football.